Our story begins with three explorers of the extraordinary. There is young Chris, ever questioning. There is Joy, his friend, full of open-hearted curiosity. And with them, Gizmo, a robot companion, a being of logic and precise calculation. They found themselves discussing the illusions of a street magician, pondering the nature of what is real and what is merely clever deception. Chris was quite sure that all such displays were just well-practiced tricks. But then, as often happens when questions of reality arise, a true marvel occurred. The ancient Superbook activated, its pages glowing, ready to transport them not to a stage show, but to a time of profound happenings. Their journey whisked them away, far from their own time, landing them in the dusty streets of Capernaum, a fishing village by the Sea of Galilee in the early years of the 1st century. Capernaum in that distant era was a place buzzing with a unique kind of energy. It was not the clamor of ordinary commerce alone. Instead, whispers and excited chatter filled the air, all centered around one extraordinary individual, Jesus of Nazareth. Some spoke of him as a great teacher, a prophet perhaps, whose words resonated with profound wisdom. Others shared stories of deeds that defied simple explanation, tales of healing and power that many called miracles. The people were stirred. A sense of expectation hung in the air. They gathered, they listened, they watched, wondering what this man, Jesus, would do next. Was he truly sent from a higher place? Or was there another explanation for the incredible events surrounding him? It was not long before Chris, Joy, and Gizmo witnessed something unforgettable. A man was brought before Jesus, carried on a mat by his hopeful friends. This man was paralyzed, his limbs unable to support him, his life confined by his condition. The crowd pressed closer, a mixture of hope and skepticism on their faces. They had heard the stories, and now their own eyes would see. Jesus looked upon the paralyzed man not with a showman's flourish, but with a deep sense of compassion. His first words were unexpected, cutting deeper than the physical ailment. "Child," Jesus said gently, yet with an undeniable authority, "your sins are forgiven." This statement alone caused a stir among some onlookers, who questioned his authority to forgive sins. But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, offered something more, something visible, something undeniable. He then addressed the paralyzed man directly. "I say to you," Jesus declared, his voice clear and firm, "arise, take up your bed, and go to your house." And in that very moment, strength surged back into the man's lifeless limbs. He stood, no longer bound by his paralysis. He bent down, picked up the mat that had been his prison, and began to walk, praising God. The crowd gasped. Chris, Joy, and Gizmo stared in sheer astonishment. This was no simple trick. This was a profound transformation, a true miracle of healing unfolding before their very eyes. Following this incredible healing, Jesus continued to teach the crowds that gathered around him. He often spoke in parables, simple stories drawn from everyday life, yet filled with layers of meaning that invited listeners to think deeply. One such story he shared was about a farmer. This farmer, Jesus explained, went out to his field with a bag of precious seeds, intending to sow his crop for the coming harvest. This wasn't just a lesson in agriculture. It was a profound metaphor for how the words of truth and wisdom are received, or rejected, by different hearts and minds. It was an invitation for everyone listening to consider how they themselves were cultivating the soil of their own understanding. The farmer began to scatter his seeds. Some, Jesus described, fell along the hard-packed footpath. Before these seeds could even begin to take root, birds swiftly descended from the sky and devoured them. Other seeds landed on stony ground where the soil was shallow. These seeds managed to sprout quickly, showing a brief promise of life. However, when the sun beat down, their shallow roots found no moisture or nourishment, and they withered away just as fast as they had appeared. This illustrated how some might hear a message with initial enthusiasm, but without deep commitment, the understanding would not last through times of difficulty. Then, there were seeds that fell among thorny weeds. These seeds also began to grow, pushing shoots up towards the light. But the thorns, already established and aggressive, grew up alongside them. Soon, the thorny weeds overshadowed the good plants, crowding them out, choking the life from them until they could bear no fruit. This depicted how the cares and distractions of the world could overwhelm good intentions, preventing true spiritual growth. But finally, Jesus spoke of other seeds. These seeds fell on good, fertile soil. They found purchase, sent down deep roots, and grew into strong, healthy plants, ultimately producing an abundant harvest, many times more than what was originally sown. This, he implied, was the ideal response, an open, prepared heart ready to receive truth and nurture it to full fruition. Later, another astounding event unfolded, this time on the waters of the Sea of Galilee. Jesus and his disciples, accompanied by Chris, Joy, and Gizmo, were in a fishing boat crossing the lake. Without much warning, the sky darkened ominously. A violent storm erupted. The wind howled with ferocious intensity, and massive waves began to crash over the sides of the small vessel. Even the experienced fishermen among the disciples were gripped by terror, fearing for their lives as the boat was tossed about. Gizmo's internal senses would have registered extreme weather conditions, yet amidst this chaos, Jesus remained remarkably calm. He stood up in the rocking boat, faced the raging tempest, and with a commanding voice, he rebuked the wind and the waves, saying simply, "Whoa, stop!" And just like that, the storm ceased. The wind died down, and the turbulent waters became perfectly still and peaceful. The journey with Superbook led the young travelers to witness yet another type of miracle, one that dealt with forces unseen and deeply troubling. Near a burial ground, a place of desolation often associated with darkness, they encountered a man in terrible distress. This man was tormented by evil spirits. The scriptures say there were so many, they identified themselves as Legion. He lived among the tombs, an outcast from society, his behavior wild and uncontrollable. He would cry out day and night, and though people had tried to restrain him with chains, he possessed a desperate strength that broke them apart. His suffering was immense, his existence a living nightmare. Jesus approached this tormented soul, not with fear, but with profound compassion and unwavering authority. He spoke directly to the unclean spirits, commanding them to leave the man. The spirits, recognizing the divine power of Jesus, reacted with fear. They pleaded with him, begging not to be sent into the abyss, a place of punishment. Instead, they asked for permission to enter a large herd of pigs that was feeding on a nearby hillside. Jesus granted their request. In that instant, the evil spirits left the man and entered the swine. What happened next was bizarre and dramatic. The entire herd of pigs, numbering about 2,000, suddenly stampeded down the steep bank, rushing headlong into the waters of the lake, where they were drowned. The man who had been so fiercely possessed was now transformed. He was sitting calmly, fully clothed and in his right mind, the picture of peace and restoration. The change was astonishing to all who saw it. Jesus then gave him a simple instruction. "Go home to your family and your friends," he said, "and tell them how much the Lord has done for you, and how he has had mercy on you." This miracle wasn't just about casting out spirits, it was about restoring a life, bringing hope out of despair, and demonstrating a power that reached into the very depths of human suffering and spiritual darkness. It showed a profound mercy alongside an undeniable authority over the forces of evil. Throughout these incredible events, Gizmo, our logical robot friend, was diligently observing and processing everything. His positronic brain, programmed for scientific analysis, struggled to reconcile what he was seeing with the known laws of physics and probability. He couldn't help but suspect that there might be some form of highly advanced trickery at play. Could Jesus be an exceptionally skilled court magician? Gizmo mused internally, his optical sensors scanning for any hidden devices or sleight of hand. He even considered that Jesus might be strategically building a reputation through grand illusions. Gizmo thought about his own advanced technology, mentioning his metal detector scan and a vibrational thermal overlay, tools designed to detect such deceptions. He longed to apply them, to find a rational explanation, but the raw power and genuine transformation he witnessed left him perplexed. Seeing Gizmo's internal struggle between logic and the seemingly impossible, Joy tried to offer a way to understand. She used a simple, everyday analogy. "Gizmo," she might have said, "think about an anchor's rope when it goes into the water. When you look at it from above the surface, the rope often appears bent or even broken at the point where it enters the water. This is due to a scientific principle called light refraction. The light rays bend as they pass from the air into the denser medium of water. It creates an optical illusion. Your eyes are, in a sense, being deceived by the way light behaves. But the rope itself, as you know, remains perfectly straight and unbroken. This simple example highlighted a profound truth. Sometimes our perceptions can be misleading. What appears to be an illusion might in fact be a reality that operates on principles beyond our immediate comprehension or current scientific understanding. The miracles performed by Jesus in Capernaum were just like that for many. They were difficult, if not impossible, to explain through the lens of ordinary human experience or the science of the day. Chris, having witnessed these events firsthand, found his initial skepticism challenged. He began to articulate a different possibility, suggesting that Jesus' powers were not mere tricks or illusions. He voiced the growing conviction that these abilities were something more, perhaps originating from heaven domain, a power sourced from a divine, otherworldly realm, far exceeding any human capability. These accounts of Jesus' miracles in Capernaum, preserved for nearly 2 millennia, continue to resonate with power and meaning in our modern world. They are more depict a unique power over sickness, the untamed forces of nature, and even the dark realms of spiritual oppression. These stories invite contemplation on the nature of faith, the possibility of hope in seemingly hopeless situations, and the very essence of divine intervention in human affairs. They challenge us to look beyond the purely material and consider the spiritual dimensions of existence, prompting questions about what lies beyond our everyday senses. The narratives of these miracles encourage us to explore deeper truths and to consider their significance for our own lives today. They speak of transformation, restoration, and a love that actively seeks to alleviate suffering. For those who wish to delve further into these timeless stories and understand their context and teachings, resources such as the Superbook Bible app provide an engaging and accessible pathway. This app, as the characters discovered, is packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes you can watch for free. It also offers trivia fun, a daily devotional, and answers to your questions, making it an enjoyable tool for individuals and families to learn together. Through such modern means, the ancient miracles of Capernaum continue to inspire, teach, and offer hope to new generations, proving that their light has not dimmed with the passage of time.